Ever wonder why your best photo didn't advance or win a major contest? It's not your talent or the moment captured. It's the tiny mistakes judges instantly spot. Over 100 photographers submitted their photos for my critique, and in this video, I picked 3 photos, each full of potential, and I'll reveal exactly what flaws silently sabotage their award chances using my experience as an invited judge for several international contests. So you can easily avoid them yourself, like how I helped hundreds of my clients win awards. So let's go to the first photo. So this photo is by Gary. So what I want to do is, why don't you pause the video here and then write down what you think of this photo so that you can check out if you agree with my points later. Okay, done? So this is a fantastic photo, right? It's like the dream of all the photographers, a bobcat jumping in snow. The composition is great. The lighting is nice and soft. And the eye seems to be sharp. I really like especially the splash of the snow which convey the motion. So what is the problem in this one? I'll just tell you what usually happens for judges during this judging is when the photo is very good, we just want to make sure that everything is good. Okay, this done, this one is gonna win. What we do is we will go into the full resolution and just check out if there's any problems, because for this kind of action shots, right, you want it to be sharp, especially on the eyes, and then make sure that there is nothing weird around the structure. So when I look into it, and by the way, thanks Gary for your courage to submit a photo that is high resolution, because he submitted one that is 5,000 pixels. Because I asked everybody to just submit it at 1,500 to 2,000 pixels, but I'm glad you do it because that could really help you. So I look into the full resolution image right here. And then suddenly something that is a little bit off, right? When you look into the motion right here, if you zoom it in here, that it seems to have some of the motion blur, like from the hair and fur here. And then the eyes is sharp. So that is a good thing. But then everything else in here also have a little bit of strange texture right here. So I'm starting to think that it's either you are doing a slower shutter speed, but then of course your skill, that the eyes is sharp. However, the part right here and here has something that feels like it is off. You guys can see it, right? Either it is over sharpened, which I never want anyone to do, especially because when we look at a photo, the key thing is as long as the eyes are sharp, the other part doesn't really need to be sharp. However, in this one, there is some over sharpening, especially in here as well. If you can look into the 100% or just even zooming in. So there is something that is off right here, like the texture and the details is just a little bit strange. So what I would suggest is try not to sharpen this area if you are doing this, because you even see some color fringing and some of those stuff as well, and especially on here as well, like the fur and those becomes like pieces, like patches of those instead of like the fluffy fur that people would expect. There must be some editing issues. I don't know if it is because of using some sharpening or deblurring tool that the eyes is sharp. Another thing that judges always check is the boundary between the fur and the hair here. And from just looking in here, it seems like it is over sharpened. So that's why some of these textures is all gone. So that actually could completely destroy the chance of advancing. Or imagine you are in the top 5 of a photo contest or top 3. A lot of the time, it is some of these little mistakes that causes the judges to say, okay, this is a no-go, because what they want eventually is to make a big print or have an exhibit or print in a magazine or something. So this kind of texture would really drive the judges off. And time and again, I've seen many photos that are so close to winning, but just because of something weird like over sharpening, it ruined it. And the second tip that is very important is whenever we have photos that can cause the judges to, like, for example, if you have an owl flying towards you, full frame, or if you have some very elusive animals that is full frame in perfect condition, it's not really because of the issues of the judges. It's really because there are just so many unethical photographers out there now who are using baiting or using captive animal. You have seen all this news, right? So if your photo is ethically taken, this is the time when you have to write a detailed description on the story when you submit the photo, like specifically saying that the photo is not baited and this is ethical, it's non-captive, wild, and some of those, because a lot of the contests, they actually don't support that. So just make sure to do that to reduce the doubt of the judges when they read the story to you. But anyways, this is a fantastic work. All right, so next we have Naidu. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. So let's take a look at his photo. All right, a fantastic photo. And if you are interested to learn more, pause the video and then write down what you feel and what you think of this photo. Okay, so done. All right, so if I just zoom in a little bit more for you all to see it, is okay. I think this is the mother grape and then feeding, and then the three babies looking into it, and then the father right here, and then there's a water droplet here, and then the background is very good, decently low angle. So yeah, so overall this is a perfect work, right? Full of emotion as well. I do wish that the bill of the father is visible, but then this one leaping up, blocking it actually may add to it. This might be the perfect photo for a lot of us, right? A lot of us dream of that. But for the judges, we actually have seen a lot of photos of this kind of behavior, grapes feeding and then baby coming out. So in order to actually win, I'm talking about big win, international win, top 5 category wins, we have to make sure that everything is perfect. So in this photo right here, the first thing I see is that the dark background is very nice. However, this spot right here is what was distracting people's attention, right? This is number one. This is the spot. This one is okay. This bright spot right here. Again, last time we talked about how we always zoom in to take a look. And now you can see that this spot is very bright in here, right? So that makes a almost perfect photo, non-perfect. And then this one is like, where is that reflection coming from? Is it from this droplet? Or I'm a little bit confused, right? But it's not too bad. But excuse me, but knowing that is right here, right? How do we improve this kind of photo when there is a little bit of imperfection right here? So most of the photographers would put this image right here in this. There's some nice reflection and then there's a nice background, right? However, if you look into this photo in a more zoom out way, the emotion is what? Where is the action happening? Is right in the middle of the frame, right? So in order to make a great photo stand out from the other great photos, you almost have to whisk it now these days to find a more creative composition to drive the judges right at the main spot. So the main point of that is these three babies, right, all looking, and this water droplets, right? So how do you drive the viewers right into that? Instead of having this whole thing, and then also the tail is really bright in here and also this spot, I may actually suggest something that is a little bit off the ordinary, which is to try to crop it creatively so that I may use this mother grape as the main subject. So what I would do is I would, instead of including the reflection, because usually when the reflection is like completely perfect, then I'll do it. But when it is like cutting near the neck and those, then it's not really necessary to have that reflection. However, the dark background is really gorgeous and it's special. So what I would do is I would try to crop it in a way that is a little bit moving towards here. So I'll just show you in a bit. So just by cropping it a little bit tighter in here, and then if I go back into the frame in here, so you already see that your eyes is already drawn much more to this part, right? Instead of previously, like in here and here, right there. So I would crop from here so that this one doesn't crop in a weird way. And then what I would do is I may even, because there's another little bit of distraction. So you don't want, so the thing is when there are like 3 judges, 5 judges or more, you don't want any one of them saying that, oh, I don't like this. So you want to avoid any of those. So I would actually retain the dark background so that I'm driving the viewer's eyes into something like this so that it's a little bit lower in the frame. And then, so now if you can see it, so this image right here would be much more emotional than the previous one when there is like a very safe composition right here. Of course, this is not if the final composition, you can still play with it even further. I don't know, like something, this is like a good composition already. Yeah, so that's what I would suggest. Okay, but very good job in this one. And of course, there is some other stuff that you need to do, but I just want to point out the major thing to make it stand out from another 100 or few hundred other Grips food exchange photos. So this is really changing time these days. Back in the days, like 20 years ago, this one would have won, but now you have more people getting great shots, right? It makes it much more fun, right? It's much more challenging. All right, so now we go to the third image, and the photo is by Hector. So let's take a look. Again, please pause the video and write down what you think of this photo, and then we'll go into the discussion. This photo is what I call full of mystery. Very cute. I like that Hector is using low light, and when it's dark, the pupil dilates in the eye, so it makes it more cartoonish, right? It's very cute. I think it's a burrowing owl, and nice use of the foreground blur, and the image is clean, or surrounding is very good in here. How do we improve on that? So I'll just give a quick example. So imagine you are going into an elevator, right? It's, hey, the door is closing, and then you're rushing it in. And then when the door opens, there's a guy in the elevator. However, this guy, instead of typically being on one side in the back or something, he's standing right in the middle of it. And then you guys trying to squeeze in, and then wherever you stand, it's like this guy is just so close to you, you don't feel comfortable. And that is what exactly like why a lot of the judges, they don't like the placement of the subject of the too close to the center. So this one is nice, it's in the lower part, but in terms of the left and right, it's still very close to the center. So what happened is that we want to have a little bit more creativity in it, feel like playful. So for example, like this part and this part is very same equal distance, right? So what I would do is I would usually do something like this, and then maybe something like that. So now it's like this Where's Waldo kind of image, right? So people can relate to it, right? So from this one to that one, right? So it's instantly more playful, right? So that would be my first suggestion. And then the second one, if you, again, you look into the zoom out image right here, right? So you see that instead of like the last one where it's like dark surrounding and then leading the viewers into the Grips feeding. So this one, everything everywhere is a very similar tonality, right? So when the tonality is very much the same, the judges or the viewers would feel like they don't know where to move because there is no gradient, there is no tension to move their eyes around. And especially when you look deeper into this image, this part is a little bit brighter, and then also this part is also brighter, and our eyes tend to move from darker area to bright. So these spots and these spots are really fighting for the movement of the eyes to the owl. So what I would suggest is to just darken this part just a tiny little bit. So what I would do is I would probably do a tiny little bit of darkening. And then, so you just don't do very drastic change because that's not allowed. But if you just change a little bit, right? And same here too, you can do something like that. And then your eyes is more, instead of going more to the white area, you instantly go to more of that area. So that is something that was very helpful. If you want to submit your own photo for review, join my email list below. And check out this next video here where I review the one mistake that's ruined more contest photos than any other. I promise it's not what you think. So check it out there.